everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's really nice to be back. Today I've been working on some keychains, and they are like wallets as well, where you can put your cards and money and whatever else you have, right? And this is what it looks like. Really tiny. It's cute. You have a D-ring up here, and this is a snap to open. And when you open, you have these two slots on one side, two on the other side, as well as you have an opening here and an opening there. And it's really solid. You can clip this onto your bag and you can just put it down into your bag for safety. Really cute. They're nice for gifts or for yourself. The season is coming up, and I think this would be really good as a beginner gift. Just take your time and make these, and you'll see how wonderful it turned out. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so as you can see, I have all my pieces cut, and I also have the interfacing on these. These are the two big sides. This is like the two back, the front and back, but they are back pieces, if that makes sense. So this would be the outer piece, and this one would be the inner piece, where I'm going to lay down my my card slots on each side. Alright, so what I did, I placed an interfacing on these pieces all the way to the end, and then I put another one more centered in the middle with 1 centimeter seam around. So I did this for two of them, okay? And I have my 3/4 inch D-ring here. I have my label. I have the tab for the D-ring, and this is for the snap in the front that I showed you, and this is to cover these pieces for the cards. Alright, so as you can see, I have two of them here, and I also place interfacing. I actually doubled the interfacing because the interfacing was a bit light, so I gave it two pieces so it's really firm and nice. So you can do that, or you can use one piece. It depends on the weight of the interfacing that you use. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be doing first. On these pieces you will have a top and a bottom. So first I'm going to mark that as the bottom here and that as the top. I'm going to be dividing these pieces, and there's where I will get my slots for the card. So at one end, which is the bottom, you will mark it about 10.2 centimeters. That's about, I think, 4 inches. And then the next bit, you'll mark that about 7.6. And then the next, you're going to mark about 8.9 centimeters. The next one is 7.6, and this balance should be 11.2. So that's 11.2, 7.6, 8.9, 7.6, and 10.2. Alright, so what I'm going to do is basically transfer these lines onto the material underneath. So I'm just going to use my tracing wheel and go over the lines just like this. Alright, and you lift that up and you'll see how the tracing wheel transfer the lines. So what you do is take your ruler and you just go over them with your pen or pencil. Alright, so next I'm going to go by the ironing board and show you how I create my pleats. Alright, so I'm at the ironing board here, and I have these two pieces. I'm going to start with one, but I'm going to be working from the bottom. Make sure you mark the top and the bottom. I put a B here that shows at the bottom because the bottom width that we mark is smaller than the top, so please make sure of that, okay? So right across where you have your 10.2 line, we're going to bring that in, and because of the tracing wheel, because I use a tracing wheel on this, it is going to be easier to just turn this over. And then what you do here, you just give it a press. You open that up a bit, and where you have your next line, you fold it in and you bring it up towards the bottom, and you press this as well. For your next line, you're going to go over like this, and you're going to press that. You open all of the material, and then you fold this last line and you bring it towards the bottom. And at this point you can just give it a nice steam. Alright, so on your wrong side this should look like this, where you have these two pleats right here. But when you turn it over, then this is the top. You should have these right here. Right? Always make sure you finish. Your pleats should be at the top, and mark your bottom and top pieces. Okay, so that's that. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other one, and then come back and show you the next step. Alright, so now we finished pressing these. What we're going to do is stitch right at the top. We're going to give these a top stitch. So you're just going to lift that and give that a top stitch. Right, before you do that, if you think that that's going to move and change the position of the pleats, you put either a pin or a clip right there just to hold that. Alright, so now I have my label. So before I actually go any further, I am going to put the label on. I normally put my label onto the left side. It's just something I do. You don't have to do it this way. You place your label wherever you think is best for your brand. Alright, so now we have everything here. I'm going to go over to the machine and show you exactly what I do. Okay, so we're at the machine here. And I am going to stitch across, top stitch across these two pleats as well as these two pleats. Alright, so I stitch my label on. I give the pleats all the top stitch that it needs. I'm just going to put this right back in place here. And then what I'm going to do is just stitch the sides down just to keep the pleats in place. I'm just going to stitch 1 centimeter on that side and also on this side. Alright, so this little tab here is for the D-ring. Then I'm going to take the D-ring, place that between, and just stitch the end of it. I'm just preparing everything, so when I'm ready I have all my stuff ready here. Okay, so this is the next step. I'm just going to trim the excess on this end. Okay, so now that's done, we're going to measure from the top to the bottom. Make sure you get 5.5 inches and you cut the excess off. So you'll take your tape measure and you can mark 5.5 inches. And once you get your 5.5 inches, then you can cut. You do the same thing to the other one. And you make sure these pleats, they all should match. And if they're not matching, you did something wrong. But to be on the safe side, make sure and match them first before you cut off the piece at the bottom. You're going to take these two short pieces that match these. I would have them like that. I would mark 1/4 inch on the left side of this one on the left, and on the right I would mark another 1/4 of an inch. Alright, so there's 1/4 of an inch on this side, that's on the left side, and 1/4 of an inch on the right side. That's all you need to do. Alright, just put those aside. I'll bring back my 2/2. Then remember the marking. Remember the marking is on the left on this one. This is the one I'm taking up. Place it down onto this orange piece, and I'll just clip that in place. Take this up, put it down onto this orange piece, and I'll do the same thing here. So now what we're going to do is stitch a straight line on this end, that's on the left, and stitch a straight line on this end, that's on the right. Alright, so now I put these down so you can actually see what I was talking about. I have this stitch on the left here and I have one on the right. I took the clips out, so if I open this out you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. This fabric looked a lot brighter than it actually is. It's quite sunny today anyway, so maybe that's one of the reasons why. Okay, so you can see where the slots are. Okay, for your cards. Okay, so I'm going to show you the next step now. Okay, so the next step is just going to be opening the seams here. And because of the pleats, it might be a little difficult right around here, but never mind. Just put a lot of steam on it so it will kind of keep the seam down. So once you're done opening your seam here, you're gonna bring this over. And then this is what it looks like. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this other one. And always make sure you have them going the right direction, and they are like this. The raw edges should be on the outside. Alright, so I'm just gonna put a couple of clips just to hold this down. So once this is done, I'm going to go to the machine and give it a top stitch here and continue to stitch all the way around. Okay, so once you're finished, this is what it should look like. You should have a top stitch on the smooth side, and then you stitch it all the way around. Just stitch it just to hold the material in. I'm just gonna clip this a little bit down, about an inch, and just cut it off like that, just so that when we turn it we have a nice clean corner. And then you just turn this inside out, you press it and you top stitch. When you're done, this is what this should look like. Okay, so from this side, the folded side, we're going to measure down about 3/4 of an inch in the center and mark it. You go ahead and you put your snaps on, just as they show you how to do that here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Alright, so next you place this together like that, and you notch the center so you have a center mark. Alright, so what I'm going to do, remember these two pieces that I showed you before? We're going to take this one, because this is going to be our outer piece. So I'm going to take this black one, and I'm going to put the two short sides together and find my center. Alright, so right here is my center. So we have the 2/2 for the cards right here, and this is where we're going to place it here. Right in the center line here, you should have about like a 1/2 inch space right between the center here. So I'm going to take this one. If you have any excess material that you need to cut at this point, you just go ahead and you notch those, you cut those off. Okay, so I'm going to place this right down here. Once I place that there, I am going to clip this on. Alright, so that's 1/2, and then I'm going to take my other half, do the same thing, clip any excess material, because the lining underneath might end up coming out slightly more than the top material, which I think is normal. So you can just clip the edges, because that would give you a definite problem here if that's not done. Alright, so now we have the second half. I'm going to place it right here, and that should be right at the corner. I'm going to clip that. And if you look here, there is a space, and the space basically is to help when it folds together. Alright, so that's that. I'm going to take my snap that has the D-ring, and I'm going to place it on the right hand side about 3/4 of an inch from the end, and I'm going to clip that in. What I'm going to do next is stitch this all the way around. Right, so this is what the inside should look like. Alright, so now we finished stitch that around, just basically a pin stitch. What I normally do first, especially for beginners, what I normally do is mark my seam allowance on any material that I'm doing. But for this one, I'm going to mark the seam allowance out before I do anything. The seam allowance said is 1 centimeter seam. So it depends on your seam allowance that you're using. You go right ahead and you mark this all the way around. And what this does is basically when you go to stitch it, you stitch on the line so you'll get everything nice and perfect. Alright, so I'm going to place these here. So now on the long side, I'm going to take the outer material and I'm going to fold it the long way, just to get the center. Alright, once you get the center, then you take the snap bit here that we put the hardware on, and with the hardware, not this direction, but this direction where you're going to clip, we're going to put this down onto the left side. Alright, so let me come close and show you what I'm talking about. Right, so this should be on your left side with this side up. Okay, so once you have that done, you clip that. So from this side down, measure about 1 inch and right in the center and mark. What I'm going to do also is reinforce the back, because we have to put the snap for this to close. So I'm going to put another piece of interfacing at the back here, just right where we have the notch, just right around here, just to reinforce that a bit. Alright, so I have a piece of interfacing here, and I'm going to go to the ironing board and just give this a quick press and come back. Alright, so let me show you what I did just now. Okay, see this bit here? This is the bit I just put to reinforce. Alright, so I still have my mark right here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the hardware. And you can do the same thing, and I'll come right back. Alright, so I just applied the hardware, the next one over on this end. We're coming to the end of what we're doing. So you can lay out your work just like this. You have the ones with the hardware on your left, and the ones with the slots for the cards on your right. So all you're going to do, you're just going to put this over onto that. That's it, right? And remember where your top and your bottom is, because you're going to be stitching around, but you're at the bottom, you're going to leave an opening about 4 inches or so. All right, but you're going to clip that here. And at this point, because of all the interfacing and all that, this is going to be a bit thick. All right, so just be careful with your needles. Make sure you have a needle that is suitable for any thick material. All right, so I am going to be stitching from this end where this clip is all the way around. Make sure I have my corners sharp, and I'm going to come to the end. Right here is where I have my opening. I'm going to show you the next step. Okay, so I finished stitching all the way around. Now I'm going to clip the corners. When you clip the corners, make sure not to cut your stitch. Just clip them about 1/8 of an inch away from the stitch, right? And once you finish that, then you can literally cut down your seams slightly. And by doing this, you will reduce the bulk of material that's going to be inside once you turn it. All right, so now we're about ready to turn, but before we go to turn, I'm going to show you one more thing. Before you turn, right at the bottom here on the outer piece, you fold that over like this and press. All right, just like that. And then we are going to turn this inside out. Alright, so you want to turn this other half inside. Once you turn that in, you can clip that together like that. You go over to the iron and you press. At this point, you can steam this as well. That would help it to lay flat, because remember, this is really thick now. Right, so this is what it looks like, but now we're going to do the final stitch on this and stitch this all the way around, a really fine stitch, just to give it a nice finish. Alright, so this is what it looks like. You have your D-ring up here where you can put your keys and your spaces for your cards. Alright, so I'm just going to give this one last press and come back. Alright, so this is what it looks like, really neat and nice. I'm going to show you how the cards fit in this. I know that you're probably wondering. So this card is a store card, and this card is the same size as a regular credit card, bank card, or whatever. So look, you put it in here and look, that's it. It fits really nice with a lot of space. You can fit more than one card in each slot. Right, and also it's wide enough to go here along with your money and whatever else you have here. All right, so if you like this, if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.